To visit Irpinia means making a voyage through one of the most beautiful provinces in Italy, which conserves the best characteristics of the land: the monuments, churches, gastronomic traditions and nature reserves and parks. At just 30 minutes from Naples Airport, Capodichino, with a magnificent capacity for hotel reception and an exquisite choice of restaurants which serve local fare, the presence of 3 high-quality wines, Taurasi, Greco di Tufo, Fiano di Avellino. Irpinia, the famous province, is to be found in the center of Campania, an excellent location for the visiting tourist. Apart from the vast array of beauty that it offers, there are also the neighboring localities of Pompeii, Herculanos, the Amalfian coast, Naples, Salerno, Caserta and Benevento. Well connected and within easy reach thanks to a network of motor roads and motorways, there's the chief town of Avellino, in whose environs rises the wonderful and salubrious town of Mercogliano, from where, by means of an efficient funicular railway, one of the steepest and most rapid in Europe, the sanctuary of Montevergine, for centuries the destination point of great numbers of pilgrims and tourists from all the world over. Constructed in 1126 by San Guglielmo di Vercelli, the sanctuary conserves in its interior the stupendous painting of the Madonna di Montevergine, who the Neapolitans call Mamma Schiavona. For the faithful and for all those who love to unite with the desire for spirituality, the desire for understanding of history, and to live in the midst of fresh and clean air, Montevergine is the ideal place. The sanctuary is divided between the new and the old basilica. The Basilica Nuova is constructed in the modernized Romantic style and has 3 naves. Through walkways both internal and external, one can reach the Antica Basilica, which has remained unchanged throughout time. The architecture goes back to around 1650 and conserves in its interior various works of notable importance, such as the Baldacchino, the painting of the Madonna di San Guglielmo, which goes back to 1150, and the Ligneus Crucifix, the work of an unknown artist from the French school of around the 13th century. Also famous is the rich exhibition of presepios, which come from all the world over. The continuous carpet of the green woods on every peak, the splendid views which one can enjoy from the peaks of Montevergine, Valatrone, Topolo Grande and Cesco Alto over the Gulf of Naples, onto the city Avellino, onto the Nolan Plain, enchant the tourists visiting the Parco del Partenio. To know the Partenio means reliving the emotions of a millennium-long history in symbiosis with nature. Going back down the winding road or descending in the funicular, if you wish, you can go from Avellino to the Città di Mercogliano, where you can find yourself in a little treasure chest of monuments and culture, the Abbazia di Loreto. This is so called because it was built in a place where, in pagan times, there flourished a wood of laurel which was sacred to Apollo. The present construction was begun in 1733 and finished in 1749. The original design and project were created by Domenicantonio Vaccaro, painter, sculptor and architect of immense renown in the 18th century. The original architecture conserves the pharmacy with a stupendous collection of majolica vases. The vast archive, consulted all the world over, is rich in around 7,000 parchments and other paper collections. The library with 150,000 volumes, which in recent years has been open to the public and has assumed the character of an up-to-date and functioning cultural institute. Welcoming and typically medieval is the historic center of Mercogliano, with the medieval Borgo of Capo Castello, where one comes across little streets and alleyways, clambering among the houses and old buildings and archways of immense architectural interest. Visiting these alleyways, one comes to the historical evidence of the constructive character of the medieval times, where one can see the desire to live as high up as possible in order to survey one's enemies and be ready to defend oneself in case of attack. All the Italian cities of the epoch are constructed according to this criteria, and the historic center of Mercogliano conserves all of these characteristics. Avellino is the main town of the province, halfway between the Tyrrhenian Sea and the Adriatic, in the heart of Campania. Between Puglia and Basilicata, it was founded by an ancient tribe of Samnite nomadic origins. The Irpini gave life to the first inhabited nucleus of the city of Avellino, towards Atripalda, to then expand into the area where today stands the cathedral, Duomo, of Avellino. The cathedral dedicated to the Assumption is the most important temple in the diocese of the zone. It was commissioned by Bishop Roberto in 1132, and the works were completed in 1166. The interior is a Latin cross divided in pilasters with 3 naves. Many times damaged by various earthquakes and wars, the structure has undergone numerous restorations and enlargements. Up to the end of the 1600s, it was in the Romantic style. In the second half of the 1800s, the bishop, Francesco Gallo, began a great restoration and enlargement program, which transformed the building from Romantic into Neoclassic style. The last restoration was carried out by the architect Pasquale Cardona around 1860. Beside the principal portal, there are 2 niches, which on the left contain San Modestino da Antiochia, bishop and martyr, patron saint of Avellino, and on the right San Guglielmo da Vercelli Abate, the primary patron of Irpinia. Nearby the dome, rich in a fantasy of Baroque motifs, is the imposing shape of the tower, which rises above the roofs of Avellino. Adopted as the symbol of the city, the clock tower represents the most touching sign of community life. Its architectural story contains passages of the whole city. The earthquake of the 23rd of November 1980 damaged the clock tower, but from 1991 the 4 quadrants of the tower, restructured, recommenced to recount the passage of time and to once more be the symbol of the city. An obligatory stop for the lovers of architecture is the Avellino Museum. In the center of the city, the headquarters also of the rich provincial library, the museum gathers together the recollections of all the people who've lived in Irpinia, from the Etruscans to the Longobards, from the Romans to the barbarians. And also central, the property of the Avellino Comune, with ample parking facilities for cars and buses, is the brand new and efficient Teatro Gesualdo, which has only a few years ago opened its doors to the public. With a seating capacity of 1,300, it can host great events, meetings, conventions, theatrical and musical shows. At Atripalda, the neighboring district of the chief city, one can visit the truly ancient settlement, the origin of the city of Abellinum, which goes back to the dictatorship of Sylla, which is still today in part visible around the circuit of the defensive wall, revealing a patrician domus, the house of the ancient Romans of noble class. Still, in Atripalda, one must visit the Specus Martyrium, or the Paleo-Christian cemetery of Abellinum, which grew up around the tombs of the martyrs and which is considered among the most important cult zones of the Irpinian Church. The Specus conserves the remains of Sant Hippolyta and of another 19 Abellinian martyrs of the Diocletian persecution, which occurred between 304 and 312 AD. Continuing our voyage in Irpinia, we arrive at Sant'Angelo dei Lombardi, where there is the truly magnificent Abbey of Goleto, which grew up where San Guglielmo da Vercelli, the founder of the Monte Vergine sanctuary, died. This was built on the remains of a temple dedicated to the sun god and the remains of a Roman bath. Apart from the churches, the monuments, its medieval wealth, Irpinia offers its visitors the possibility of walking and immersing oneself in peace and a still uncontaminated nature. Along the Apennine ridge towers the highest mountain of Campania, Il Terminio. At Bagnoli Irpinio, you can go skiing in the resort of Laceno, whose chairlifts are open even in summer to allow you to take long walks at high altitude. The peace, the tranquility, the order, the wonderful reception, the sumptuous quality of the food and wine, the welcome of a hospitable people distinguish a land, a province of Italy, which is still today all to be discovered, Irpinia.